Tafsir.
Where should I begin when I'm starting at the end? Pursuing the higher aim, learning the meaning of every page. Ooh, where should I begin when I'm starting at the end?
Another addition to your Islamic education, Maqasidic Tafsir, Healing and Governance, The Transformative Path of Saba As-Tiwal, written by Dr. Karim Abuzaid. Join Ustad Laila Nasheeba every Tuesdays and Thursdays at 9:30 p.m., streaming all major platforms, channel SunnahFollowers.
which is free of charge. And please don't forget to donate. For all of you listening, we need donations to cover the beginning of our website. You know, we are a nonprofit organization. We are a nonprofit Islamic university. That's why all the classes are free. But we need your donations. Please donate using Zelle or Cash App or PayPal. And it's there on the bottom of the screen. Okay, this is how this book looks. All of the books that we use are written by Dr. Karim Abuzaid. We also use the books written by Sheikh Muhammad Saeed Atli. This is a picture of Dr. Karim Abuzaid, for those of you who are not familiar with him. And this is the book for this class. It's called the Maqasidic Tafsir, Volume 3. And this is the second edition. So you want to get this one. The book can be purchased on Amazon. I think the book is $14.99. This is how it looks. Make sure you get this one, which is the second edition. Yes, this is the color of it. Don't get the other one. Get this one, the second edition, Volume 3. Yes. Yes. And tonight we're going to cover, yes, these are the 7 most lengthy chapters of the Qur'an. Yes, these are the 7 most lengthy chapters of the Qur'an. The last time we met for this class, we covered we talked about the chapter of Baqarah and Ali Imran. Well, tonight we're going to cover the 2 chapters known as the signs. Remember, Surat Baqarah and Ali Imran are known as the twins. Who can tell me, why are those 2 chapters of the Quran called the twins? Why are those 2 chapters of the Quran called the twins? Can anybody remember? Why do we refer to Baqarah and Ali Imran as the twins? Can anyone remember? Anyone?
Several reasons. One of the reasons is because they both start off with Alam, Lam, Mim.
Good job. Write that down, those of you who couldn't remember the answer. One of the reasons why Surat al-Baqarah and Ali Imran are referred to as the twins is because both of those chapters of the Quran begin with Alif, Lam, Mim. Write it down. Why else? Go ahead, Mina.
Another reason is because they will intercede if you continue to say them on the day of judgment for you.
Write that down. Another reason as to why Surat al-Baqarah and Ali Imran are known as the twins is because these 2 chapters of the Quran, if you put them in action, if you ponder, learn the meaning of them, and apply the meaning of these 2 chapters of the Qur'an in your daily life, these 2 chapters of the Qur'an will intercede on your behalf on the day of judgment. And you're going to need that, because most of us are going to be in hell. Oh, yeah. The Prophet Muhammad said there's going to be more people in the hellfire than there are people in paradise. So you're going to need as many people or as many entities to intercede, to beg Allah to remove you from hell as possible. Baqarah and Ali Imran will beg for Allah to remove you from hell. What else? Go ahead, Mina.
Another one is the strengthening of us. Ali Imran is the protection that we need, and Baqarah is the strengthen our faith.
Exactly. They're also referred to, these 2 chapters of the Quran, Baqarah and Ali Imran, are referred to as the twins, because Surat al-Baqarah builds your faith. And this is the chapter of the Quran that we need to read when our faith is weakened. A lot of you will come to me or come to the people of knowledge. You'll come to me. You'll come to Dr. Karim Abuzaid. You'll go to Dr. Dramali. You'll come to the people of knowledge and you will say, oh, my faith is weakened. I look at the news. I see what's happening in the world today, and I'm so scared. My faith is weak. Well, when you find your faith weakening, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, read Surat Baqarah, because Surat Baqarah builds up your faith. It increases your iman. This chapter, this surah of the Quran builds your faith. It establishes belief in Allah. It reiterates the oneness of Allah, the majesty of Allah. It reinforces that Allah, there is no power, there is no might other than Allah. It reinforces fear of Allah, Surah Baqarah does. And then Ali Imran, it strengthens that. It makes your belief in Allah solid so that you can handle the trials of life. So instead of you Muslims watching videos about the signs of the last hour, learning about the Mahdi is not going to strengthen your faith. Learning about Bait el-Mahdi is not going to strengthen your faith. Learning about the Antichrist, learning about the Dajjal, the Gog, the Magog, none of that is going to increase your faith at all. As the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if you live to see the arrival of Jesus, the arrival of the Gog or the Magog, the arrival of the Antichrist, if you did not believe in Allah before these events occurred, it will do you no good to try to believe in Allah after they come. Okay? It's too late, in other words. You ain't going to believe when they come. You're done. You're going to be on the opposite side. You're done. Okay? To strengthen your faith, the prophet said to what sustains the person's faith during times of turmoil and trial. And what's the source of this hadith I'm quoting you? Sahih Bukhari. Is La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah Tawheed. That's why the prophet said, if you're living in times of turmoil, fall back upon the Shahada, fall back upon El-Wala wal-Bara Tawheed. He told the companions, stop asking about the signs of the last hour. If the last hour came while I'm here, I'll deal with all that. He said, instead, check your aqidah. Make sure that your aqidah is correct. Because if your Aqidah ain't correct before it comes, it ain't going to be correct after it comes. And the last hour will come to each and every one of you when that angel of death comes. What have you done to prepare for it? We're not prepared. So read Surat Baqarah. Every Muslim on this earth, instead of crying about what's happening in the world, because Allah is in control. There is no power. There is no might other than He. Leave the politics of the earth to Allah. He's in control of all the war. He's in control of everything that's going on. Not Israel, not America, not your protesting his Carter, nothing, not your boycotts. He's in control. If all the creation were to come together to stop the war, they wouldn't be able to lift a finger unless Allah willed it. And if all the creation were to come together to make it even worse, they wouldn't be able to lift a finger unless Allah willed it. So like the prophet said, leave the politics of what's happening in the world to Allah, because He's in control. The power, the might is in His hands. And instead, check your heart, check your Aqidah, check your Tawheed, your belief. Take care of it, Mina. Check your belief. Okay? Everybody got that? So, what I'm telling all of you Muslims listening to me, get off of YouTube with all that last hour crap and come back to the beginning of Tawheed. Tawheed al-Rububiyah, to be exact, the lordship of Allah. And el-wala wal-bara. Everybody got it? So, read Surat Baqarah, because Surat Baqarah will develop your Iman. And then read Ali Imran, because it will strengthen your faith and give you the ability to face the trials of life with confidence and strength, knowing that there is no power, there is no might other than Allah. That's how the companions were. The companions lived in war, died in war. The Prophet Muhammad was at war from the time he received the call to prophethood until his death, and so were the companions. It never stopped. And they were resilient and victorious because they trusted and relied upon Allah. So that's what we focused on in the first part of this book, with those first two most lengthy chapters. Now we're going to go to the second two, known as the signs. And those two are Surat An-Nisa, Surat An-Nisa, and Maidah. Now remember, what are the two names of these surahs? The first two were known as the twins, Al-Baqarah and Ali Imran, the twins. Well, these, An-Nisa and Maidah, are the signs. Okay? Everybody make sure you're looking on YouTube. But those of you on Bigo, make sure that you guys have a tab open on YouTube. You're on my live stream so you can see these PowerPoints. Yes, that's my brother. Everybody keeps asking me that, okay? Yes. Okay, and here's the PowerPoint. All right. You can see? You can? Okay, good. Okay, you can see it. Okay, good. All right. Now, the next two chapters that follow Ali Imran are the chapter known as An-Nisa. And after An-Nisa, which is a lengthy chapter, is Maidah. And these two chapters emerge as significant markers within the Quranic narrative. And these two chapters serve as signs that critically assess the realization of the foundational work laid out in Surat al-Baqarah and Ali Imran. These two chapters evaluate the effectiveness of established principles in government and social justice. They also evaluate the effectiveness of ethical living. They also affirm the Quran's commitment to informing society that justice prevails and that the dignity of every human being is to be honored, regardless of their social background, regardless of their race, their language, their heritage, or any of that. So whereas Baqarah and Ali Imran, the twins, focused on faith and belief and strengthening that belief in Allah, these two chapters focus on government and social justice and ethics. Okay? Let's look at Surat Nisa. Surat Nisa in English, this refers to the women. And remember, we talked about how when you look at the title of the chapter of the Qur'an, that means that every verse or every sentence or most of the sentences in that chapter relate to that topic. So it's called the women. So most of the verses have to do with women or women's issues, women's rights. So remember, before Islam, women didn't have any rights in the world. This was the 6th century. These were the dark ages, the medieval period. Women were not even viewed by many people as being human. Women were like cattle. They were like animals. They were bartered. They were sold. They only served the purpose of procreation, basically. Okay? A woman had to basically sell herself in order to be acknowledged for anything. So this chapter acts as a test for the Islamic community's adherence to Allah's rules regarding the rights and the status of women. Like I tell you guys, Islam liberated women. That's why there's no feminism in Islam. We're not about women's rights. Our way of life, we were liberated by Allah back in the 6th century. Islam gave us rights that we never had before. Allah liberated us. Allah raised women from the role of an animal and made us equal to men spiritually, morally, gave us rights to separate us from men, okay? Gave us rights to make men honor us. So that's why when we see these women running around talking about equality, we shake our head because our Lord already gave us that stuff centuries ago, okay? Also, this chapter of the Quran, it prevented men from demeaning women by Allah replacing men with man's laws with his laws that commanded men to ensure that we women have rights that are adhered to. We have the rights to inheritance. We have the rights to own our own property. We have rights within society. And not only does this chapter of the Qur'an protect the rights of women, but it also gives rights to the orphans, rights to children. And this chapter also serves as an assessment tool for measuring the community's commitment to equality and compassion. So Surat Nisa is a very, very, very important chapter of the Qur'an because it stands as a testament to the successful implementation of Quranic values. And also, it assures inclusivity and equality in society. And all this occurred in the 6th century. Okay, subhanallah. And not only does this chapter of the Quran address that, but it also addresses the moral decline of society too. Just like back then, if we look at the Muslim nation today, we can see that the Muslim nation today is at a critical moral and ethical decline. You look at the Muslim nation today, you see that most of us have lost our sense of purpose. We've lost our direction. Many of us have lost hope. All of this because we have blended with secularism. We've tried to westernize. We've tried to become like the non-Muslims, the same way back in the 6th century, you know. So it shows that history repeats itself. Okay? Well, just like there was a decline of morality in the 6th century, we have this problem today. Well, Surat Nisa serves as a checkpoint. It lays down laws of morality that if we abide by, it can preserve the rights such as marriage and all of that type of stuff that's at a decline. You know, that we see today, children born out of wedlock, diseases, the rights of women, the rights of children, the rights of husbands abused and all of that. Okay? The rights of society, diseases, welfare issues. Surat Nisa addresses all of that. So that's what makes this chapter of the Quran such a very, very, very powerful chapter, because it addresses morality, social issues, and all of that. Okay? And if we were to align ourselves as a nation with the directives of Surat Nisa, then this nation can effectively counter the trends of moral decay and social injustice. This alignment could rejuvenate our senses of purpose and direction. We could revitalize empathy, equality, and proactive engagement. But again, we'd have to turn back to the Quran. We'd have to turn back to the hadith. Remember, guys, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that if you live to see the beginning of the greater signs, which is the war against Islam, which is already happening, one of the signs would be that my sunnah would become abandoned. My sunnah would become forgotten. My sunnah would become replaced with secularism. We don't follow the example of the Prophet Muhammad anymore. The people don't even learn the hadiths. We're taking on the behavior of the Kafirs. Look how many Muslims are calling themselves life coaches. Don't you guys know that the life coach for the Muslim is the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Allah says in the Qur'an, there's no better example for you than the Prophet Muhammad. But how many of you are following men and women of today who call themselves life coaches? And most of these women and men of today can't even coach themselves on how to live in accordance to the Qur'an and Sunnah. Most of them are criminals. Most of them got all kind of filthy skeletons in their closet. Subhanallah. But if we were to turn back to the Sunnah and make the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam our life coach and our example, and follow his Sunnah in life, then we wouldn't have the problems that we have today. Subhanallah. So again, Surat Nisa, that would help with the moral decline that we see today. And on the other hand, we have Surat Al-Maidah. Surat Al-Maidah, it evaluates the adherence to Allah's guidance, and it builds upon the foundations that are set by An-Nisa. Surat Al-Maidah, it examines the social spectrums, including the sanctity of life, also the rights of property, also international dealings. Surat Maidah, it introduces a comprehensive legal framework that encompasses not only ritual worship, but also everyday business transactions and societal governance. Surat Maidah emphasizes the fulfillment of the trust, keeping your trust, the sanctity of a business transaction. It also serves as a sign of the community's maturity in upholding justice and trust, based on Qur'an, trusting in Allah and all of that. Subhanallah. So whereas Surat Nisa addresses moral justice, Maidah addresses business transactions and business and justice. Subhanallah. See how those two work together? Just like Baqarah and Ali Imran work together in faith and belief in Allah, Nisa and Maidah work together in the trust, the moral and spiritual trust, and the business and rights trust. Subhanallah. See how Allah is Akbar, guys. Also, Surah Maidah addresses erosion, the erosion and the weakening commitment when it comes to upholding your agreements with each other. Remember, guys, we're not supposed to break our promises. We're not supposed to break our contracts. Surah Maidah draws parallels with the Qur'an's treatment. It highlights the transformative power of keeping your trust, keeping your honor, keeping your agreements within society and with each other. If a trust can't be kept, if a man's honor is not valid, then how can society stay strong? If a man's word is nothing, then that's a sign that the society is basically nothing. Subhanallah. You see that, guys? Powerful stuff here. Powerful stuff. Also, Surah Maidah bridges the gap between the past and the present. In Surah Maidah, we have examples. Allah gives us examples of how the trust in business and the trust between people of the past were broken and what happened as a result. And Allah reminds us to not make the same mistakes that the people before us made, how societies declined as a result of that. Also, in Surah Maidah, we see how leaderships fail as a result of the trust not being maintained by the leaders. And Allah reminds us to not make the same mistakes that those before us made with that. So through the adherence of the objectives in Surah Maidah, the Muslim nation can transcend the currents of moral decay and social injustice, and we can breathe a new life into essence and better our purpose and live together in harmony if we uphold the trust with each other. If we follow the guidance that Allah has given us in these verses of the Qur'an, we can embrace the promise of a better future. We can correct our mistakes and better ourselves if we put into action Allah's words in Surah Maidah. We can establish a balanced society, a society based on trust and a man's honor and a man's word, if we put both of these chapters of the Quran in effect. But the question is it too late? Is it too late for this ummah to come together? Is it too late for this ummah to make the change needed? Is it too late for this ummah to demonstrate that Islam's guidance extends to all humans' dealings? Is it too late for this ummah to recognize that the Quran is not just a guidance to us, but to all mankind? So that's what we